Cruising through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You ain't lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out till the wheels fall off. I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out. Red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that right there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Tuesday, sir.
Happy Tuesday to you, partner, and everybody out there listening. Another interesting night in the NBA. You know what? The Mavs OKC game, great game, tough ending. The Cavs Celtics game, not so great. But if you watch the game was overshadowed by a certain person.
I agree, and we will get to all of that shortly, Mo. But let's start with this. We opened the show yesterday talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes because we found out that they are going to open the season against the two-time MVP, and it's going to be an AFC Championship rematch with Lamar Jackson. That will, of course, take place in Kansas City at Arrowhead. Well, Mo, yesterday we found out that week 2, Kansas City is going to play host to the returning Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals at Arrowhead, which means that Patrick Mahomes is going to open the season against arguably the next two best quarterbacks in the entire AFC in Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Now, we talked yesterday and said that, in our opinions, the opening weekend matchup, or the opening Thursday matchup, between the Ravens and the Chiefs is bigger for the Ravens. The Ravens are the team that just hasn't done it. The Chiefs are back-to-back champs. The Chiefs are going for 3 in a row. I understand that Lamar is a 2-time MVP, but MVPs do not equal championships. And that's ultimately where Lamar has had an issue. The playoffs and getting to the pinnacle and putting the Ravens in a position to win a championship. Mahomes has not had that issue. Therefore, a lot more is on the Baltimore Ravens plate for a week 1 game. As much as you can say all the pressure's on Baltimore, it is for as much as you want to give credit for a week 1 game. But Mo, now you look at it and you say, well, Patrick gets Lamar week 1, Joe Burrow week 2. If the Chiefs start off 2-0, Mo, they're not just 2-0. He's basically knocked off the 2 biggest quarterbacks that he could potentially be facing in the playoffs. I mean, at that point, if you're Kansas City, you're like, well, look at the light work that we got around here. Who's next? Denver?
Right.
The Raiders?
Right. I think, what's that line? Heavy is the crown. Look, as a fan, I love the idea. Okay, Ravens week 1, Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow ready to go week 2. I'm here for both those matchups. And again, I'm going to be consistent. I think that game is bigger to Joe Burrow than it is to Patrick Mahomes. You know, both competitors absolutely want to win, but I think Joe Burrow wants to reestablish himself as that guy, that one guy that everybody thinks he's the next guy. There's Patrick Mahomes, and then we think Joe Burrow's the next best quarterback in football. I think he wants to reestablish himself in that way. So both big games, great matchups. I feel like by the time we're done, the Chiefs' first 5 or 6 games is going to be a who's who in the NFL, right? Like they won the Super Bowl, so I guess they're like they went back to back. Let's make things a little bit harder, right? So they go Lamar the MVP, they go Burrow. So I'm guessing they're going to play Josh Allen in week 3.
Right. It should line up that way. But Mo, the flip side of that is, you know, if for some reason the Chiefs were to start the season 0-2, now you look at it and you go, oh, they just lost to Lamar, the 2-time MVP. Oh, they just lost to Joe Burrow, the guy that, has really been the only quarterback in the NFL to have some playoff success and some regular season success consistently against Patrick Mahomes. Oh, okay. Not saying that's going to happen, but if it started off that way, Mo, we can easily go the other way and be like, oh, okay, all right. Maybe they're not as good as we thought this season. Of course, we know where we're going to be if we say that. We're going to be sitting in a three-peat. So
haven't we ended up that way? Because let's be honest, most of us, if you looked at the Chiefs midway through last season, you didn't go, they're about to win another Super Bowl. They struggled. And look, again, for them to win again, that's a testament to obviously Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the rest of that organization. But for them to go out, get some of the weapons that they did, add to what they have, I'm not predicting a three-peat, but I'm interested to see what the offense looks like when Patrick Mahomes has more weapons to go to.
I agree. It is Tuesday here on Coffee and Sports, which means the man, the myth, the baseball legend, JG is coming on the show. We got some Major League Baseball things to discuss. Let's press the JG button and get the man on here. JG, welcome in this morning. How are you, sir?
Morning, guys. Doing good. How are y'all?
Hey, good morning, JG.
JG, I don't do this often for you. I'm going to give you a gift this morning, okay? We're going to start off by talking about the Atlanta Braves. And specifically, I want to talk about someone that I don't think his name gets mentioned a lot on Atlanta. But you look at his freaking numbers, and, he's just top 10 in the league in that batting average. I believe he's top 3 in the league in home runs. And he not only leads the league in RBIs, but, he's the fastest guy to get to 40 RBIs since some other big name that used to play this game, Hank Aaron, something like that. But when you look at the Atlanta Braves and you look at the talent they have on that team, JG, Marcell Ozuna is not a name that often gets brought up first, second, third, fourth, sometimes even fifth. So talk to us a little bit about Marcell Ozuna. Is this the kind of season that you were expecting to see out of him as a Braves fan? Is this a situation where, and I know that when you are the Braves and you already have a great squad, you don't like to talk about these things, but is this one of those situations because he isn't a spring chick? Do you look at this and you're like, holy cow, Marcell, I see you. Okay. Is this a sell high situation? If you're looking forward to next season or the season after, and maybe he's not going to be there anyways? Is this one of those situations where you're like, we have a really young team. Ozuna isn't really part of that super young core. I'm just throwing ideas out there, JG, because I don't know. I looked at the Braves coming into the season, and I would have listed 4 or 5 guys that were going to pop off like this before Marcell Ozuna put up these numbers. So what do you make of the start of his season? Is this something that he is going to be able to continue throughout the season? Because he's going off right now.
Yeah, so you are correct. He doesn't really get talked about much by Braves fans, and you do have Ronald Acuna, who was the MVP. You have Ozzie Albies, who's been there for quite a while, and he's been one of the young superstars. Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Michael Harris has been getting talked more about Ozuna as well. But I'll say the other side of it is because of the controversy that followed Marcell for the last few years with the DUI. There was an allegation of domestic violence, and so there's been a little bit of a history that's followed him in his tenure in Atlanta. But in regards to his performance on the field, in the last 162 games, so you take from last season, 162 games to where we are today, he's been batting I think it's just under 300. He's had 47 home runs, 120 RBIs in that time frame as well. So this is not what we're seeing out of him is not a out of the norm performance. In the time frame of 162 games, we've seen really good play from Marcell Ozuna. And then on top of all the issues off the field is where it kind of compounded him to have some struggles here and there. We kind of forget 2020. I know it was a shortened season. He was getting MVP votes in Atlanta when he was in St. Louis. he was a really good hitter in St. Louis. I know it's been quite a few years since those years where he was in St. Louis, and same thing with when he was in the Marlins. But we've seen Marcell Ozuna be really good. We've just seen him have moments or a couple at times in Atlanta where it's been, man, do you know how to play baseball? To him figuring it out and at some point and being a really good hitter. We're seeing it early in the year right now. Last year, it was one of the worst starts of his career, and he turned it on and was able to be a force in that lineup. He's just continued to figure it out right now, and he's credited a lot of the coaching that has gone on with Kevin Seitzer, the batting coach, and even working with Chipper Jones, who's the special hitting coordinator in the Braves. So he's taken in, even at 33 years old, he's taken in the ability to make adjustments and be able to get things a little bit more figured out right now. And that's the credit that he's passed on to the Braves organization. Where is he going to be at? I mean, he's got a team option after this season, which I believe the Braves are going to exercise, and that's been the talk around the front office, at least from the local media of the beat writers of the Braves, is that the Braves are going to pick up that option. It's just now, do they figure out, is there an extension at some point down the road, or do we look to get younger at that position? Because you said there's a young core in Atlanta still after 6 years of winning division titles and winning a World Series. There's still a young core. So at some point you do have to figure out a contingency plan to get younger. But right now they're riding Marcell Ozuna really high and how he's performing. He's carrying the offense right now. Until Acuna kind of gets things figured out, until Riley gets it figured out, and Olsen gets it figured out. They're riding Marcell Ozuna at the moment, and everybody else is there is following.
Mace, now this doesn't happen a lot, JG, but there is somebody on the Oakland A's. I'm going to call them a Major League Baseball team, but we can feel how we want to feel about that. There is somebody on the Oakland A's that is catching the eye of many other teams out there, and that is their closer. Mason Miller is someone that teams have been eyeing as somebody who could be a prize get when the time is right before the trade deadline this season. And apparently there have been some teams that have initiated initial conversations with the A's about what he would be worth, what they might be looking for in a Mason Miller trade. And the early indications are that they are looking for a king's ransom, and that nobody is going to come close to matching what they want for Mason Miller. And JG, I look at that and I go, of course they are. Of course the A's have like one decent piece that other teams might be interested in. And of course they're going to be like, no, we want your firstborn. We want your brother's firstborn. We want your cousin's first. Who is running this damn team, JG?
The problem with that is, Mason Miller is the talk of baseball right now, and rightfully so. He's really good. We're only 2 months into the season, and not even a full 2 months in right now. He hasn't done this in consecutive. He's just coming out of nowhere doing this right now. So where's the history that you're asking for a king's ransom? Josh Hader you could ask for a king's ransom because we have a history of what he is as a closer. Edwin Diaz for the Mets. We have a history of what he is as a closer. Devin Williams in Milwaukee. You can get a king's ransom for because there's a history of him as a closer. Mason Miller is an exciting, 25-year-old pitcher. Throws 100 miles an hour and looks good doing it. This is a situation where the A's are asking high, which they have the right to do so, but there is a negotiation, and they're going to. And more times than not, we've seen with the A's, they lose the negotiation. We've seen, and I'll throw my Braves out there with Matt Olson. We got Matt Olson from them, and we've won that trade. We got Sean Murphy from them. We won that trade too. So this is just kind of the norm of the Oakland A's front office, where they again ask high, have the right to do so. Maybe if you can get a bidding war, because there's going to be some teams that are going to want a bullpen arm. They need bullpen arm. You can look at the Texas Rangers being one. You can look at the Cleveland Guardians being one. The Seattle Mariners probably need an arm. Again, will they trade in the division? Who knows? But the Guardians are going to need one. You can look at the American League East teams, the Baltimore and Yankees and Red Sox probably could use some arms in the bullpen. Cubs could use a bullpen arm because they've had one of the most blown saves in baseball. So you have some teams that could create a bidding war to get the most out of the trade if you're the A's. And that's what you're trying to want. You're trying to get as much. You're making phone calls and just saying, hey, maybe Mason. Hypothetically, I think that's probably the conversation. Hypothetically, if Mason Miller is on the block, what would you guys want to give up if we were interested in making a trade for you? And you write down what they propose, and then you call the next team and say, hey, I just got off the phone with the Rangers. They're saying they'd be interested in offering this and this and this. What do you think you could offer us? Could you match something? Maybe even make it a little bit more interesting for us or whatnot? We're interested in doing a deal. What can you do for us? So they're making phone calls. Obviously, I don't see Mason Miller being traded in May, despite what the Miami Marlins have done in their trading earlier. It would make no sense for the A's to do this now. They have to. They should, and I think they would absolutely wait till the trade deadline before. Especially again, you're only 5 games under 500. The Oakland A's. Can we imagine that? Oakland A's are 3rd in the American League West. They're 5 games under 500. They're 4.5 back of the Mariners. So I mean, there's no reason to make that move right now unless the A's are just continuing the trend that we know that they don't care about winning, and we're just trying to just tank every year until we go to Vegas or wherever we're going to end up playing baseball at as our new home. That would be the only thing I could see, but it makes no sense to do that. So I think they're going to hold on Mason Miller for at least another 2 months up to the deadline, and then make a phone call to 6 teams every day. And pick new 6 teams, or every week. I'm sorry, not every day, but every week I pick 4 teams, call them. The next week I pick 4 more teams, call them, and so on. And then I call everybody back and say, hey, just getting a feel, what you think, and then let's see if we can make a deal when the deadline rolls around.
JG, at some point, someone between the Mariners and the Rangers are going to decide they actually want to win that division, and they're going to get down to business, or we're just going to leave the door open for the damn Houston Astros, and they're going to eventually figure out their lives and come steal the division, which is going to upset me, JG. JG, did you check out the end of the Mets and Phillies game last night? Did you see the replay of that?
I have not seen the replay of it. I've heard about it. I have not seen. I have yet to see the replay of what happened last night.
So let me ask you this from a coach then. As a coach, what is your take on the appeal to first base for the check swing and this call not going your way and it being in the first baseman's hand? You are talking about a guy that is very far away from that play happening. And I know this is a baseball norm. This has been a baseball norm for a very long time, JG. But I'm sure you have found yourselves in situations where you have been either as a player or a coach at the mercy of a man who is not very close to the actual play, deciding what he thinks he saw from a distance. Do you view that as something that is just always going to be a part of Major League Baseball, and it's what makes it fun, some would say? Or do you feel like eventually we have to come to a better way of deciding that, as opposed to a guy who is a little bit of a distance away from home plate? Did he really cross? And by the way, for casual baseball fans, JG, I get asked this all the time. Chris, where the hell is the actual line? Can't they just draw a line on the screen so we can know if he crossed or not? Because every time it happens, the announcers are like, it was close. It was close.
So let me ask, do you know the check swing rule?
No. And I played baseball.
So every rule, there's all in baseball particularly, there is a certain word or phrase that is underlined that it has to have for the rule to be enforced. If you go by obstruction or the interference rule, there has to be impede. The word is impede. Do you impede the progress of the runner or the fielder? In the essence of the check swing, the word is intent. Did you have intent to swing? Did you make the intent to swing the bat? Now, there is a line that in the angle that the umpires on the field see, and that line. So everybody kind of wants to say it's breaking the wrist. Does the wrist break across the plate? Does the bat cross the plate, or hands cross the plate? That's actually not the rule of it. It's the leg. Your front leg is the line. Does your hands get to the? Does your hands in the bat get to the leg? And that is the intent of the swing itself. So there is technically a line that the umpires in the field look to see where the bat is and where it and the hands went to determine the intent of the swing itself. So you need to have. There's going to be human error. There's going to be you're going to have human decisions. It's umpiring. So, but they have the understanding of what the rule is. Do they make the correct call every time? Well, no. It's the same thing that we see with the strike zone. It's everybody has a different view of it. Everybody has a different eyesight to what they see out there and what they're looking at. We see this in the NFL. The NFL, every officiating crew in the NFL calls penalties differently. Some crews call holding more. Some crews don't call holding more. Some crews let the players play on defense in the secondary. Some don't. So we see it again. My Saints I still hate the 2019 season where the St. Louis, the LA Rams ruined, with the no call pass interference, and now I'm kind of getting a little bit, edgy on that, but for that there is an understanding of what the rule is by the umpires and what they're looking for. There is a line that they're looking at about the hands and the bat. It's just the problem is people think it's the plate, people think it's the hands breaking. But that's not the case. So if you just thought about the hands breaking, the wrist snapping, then yes, there is no line to look at. You're trying to see where the hands are in fast-paced time. That's so hard to do. But you can, if you look at the leg being the line itself where the hands get to, well, you have an understanding of where the intent is. If the hands don't get to the leg, well, it's not a swing. If the hands get to the leg or past the leg, well, we know it was a swing. So there's the little bit of the breakdown of what they're looking for, what umpires are looking for by a check swing, call or no call. And I don't have a problem with umpires making that. Does it suck sometimes if it goes against you? Absolutely it does, especially as a hitter, because I lost my at bat on a call instead of or I lost a strike on a call that they could have gone against me in that. So it sucks, but that's part of the game and that's part of the rules.
JG, I wish that some baseball announcers would explain it the way that you did. Because I watch, and it's usually a lot of Yankee broadcasts, but I watch a lot of broadcasts and I keep hearing, well, he didn't break the plane. He didn't break the plane, so he's all right. And my question all the time is, where the hell is the plane? Can you just draw me a picture of the plane that he did or did not break? So, JG, I think there are even usually it's former Major League Baseball players who are making that, and I'm sure they know where the plane is. I'm sure in their mind they know exactly what they're talking about, but they're not explaining it as well as you just did. So, jeez. JG, before we get you out of here, we're a couple months into the season. I want you to, no particular order, throw out a couple of names. Who do you think is leading the MVP race right now in both leagues as we are at this point in the season?
Oh, man. Trying to remember. At the moment, the National League, it's hard to not say Shohei Ohtani for what he's doing offensively. And we're seeing what he could be as a hitter only. I know we've seen him do both, and that's been the unicorn of his career, being able to do both. But now we're seeing him focus only on one side of it. And my goodness, he keeps getting better. That's the scary part about it. We're seeing him hit better than what we've ever seen him before. And he's been a damn good hitter throughout his career. So you have to start with Shohei for what he's done now. There's a little bit, I guess he's had some back tightness right now. We're going to see how that affects him throughout, leading back when he gets into the lineup and continues to play through. But you have to lead with Shohei. I'm trying to think of another one just to make sure I have a second name out there. You could throw Marcell Ozuna for the Braves. If he continues his hot start, you have to have a conversation about Marcell being in this in the talk. He's kind of doing the same thing, and just kind of making a quick point. He's kind of doing that. And Dave O'Brien, who's a writer for the Braves, he actually he made a good comparison to this. He's kind of doing what the Braves, for the Braves, what Ronald Acuna did in 2021, before he got hurt, he was carrying the offense and carrying the team in the first half of the season before he tore his ACL. And then they had to make the moves that they did. But he was having such a hot start where the Braves offense was struggling at times. Ozuna's doing the same thing right now. And during that year, Acuna, he was one of the front runners for MVP in that season before going down with the ACL injury. So you have to have Ozuna. I think you have to have Marcell Ozuna be in the conversation right now of MVP. Again, you can pick out Mookie Betts would be absolutely another one, and I know he throws out Alec Bohm and for the Phillies, Gene. I think those are good names. I will say those are good names to elevate that. But again, I think Shohei right now has to be the front runner because of what he's doing. Is just a hitter for the American League. You probably have to throw Juan Soto right now.
Yeah, you do.
You have to throw Juan Soto for again. He's on a tear. I think he's happy. That's something we haven't seen Juan Soto be in a long time. I think you can probably go back to the World Series year with the Nationals, but we're seeing Juan Soto doing something that we don't necessarily see in New York, playing pressure free. Whereas that is when you go to New York for the first time, and you're a superstar, there's so much pressure added to you. And I think right now he's embraced it, and that's a little scary because he was one of the best. He was one of the better ball players and one of the top baseball players in the game for a while. And he's going to the biggest market, and he's embracing it and playing so well. So that's kind of scary for the rest of the Major League Baseball and the rest of the American League that if the Yankees have someone who embraces the spotlight like in New York. So you have to throw Juan Soto out there. Bobby Witt Jr. would be someone I can say we get some consideration. The Royals being a game and a half right now. If they win the division in the Central, you're going to have his name up in the conversation if he continues playing as well as he does. So that would be another one that I would have consideration for. In the American League West, there's really not anybody out there that you could pinpoint that would be an MVP candidate. Guardians kind of the same. They're not really having anybody that is separating them, putting themselves in the conversation of it. So I would say for the American League, I would go with Juan Soto and Bobby Witt Jr. If the Royals go and win this division in the Central, you have to give votes to Bobby Witt Jr.
And JG, you didn't mention this, but I'm sure it was just an oversight on your part. Let's not forget the great struggle that Shohei overcame earlier with losing his best friend. And we can't just overlook that. That's huge what he overcame in his personal life to go out there and do what he is doing out there right now on the field. That's got to be at least a small part of it. I know it was an oversight on your part. JG, I appreciate having you here on the show to start off the week every single week, sir. We'll see you later on this week, all right?
And real quick, so I did talk to you guys about I had some changes kind of going on and everything that I was telling you I'd get a chance to inform. So everything's kind of becoming a little bit more open now. So I can tell you all that I have accepted a coaching position at Coastal Bend College down near Corpus Christi, a little bit bigger school. Junior college still, but a little bit bigger school, bigger opportunity for me. So I will not be returning to Arkansas. I'll be back. I'm actually coming back to Texas, to coach in the fall. But I'm excited for the opportunity that I got ahead of me. So Coastal Bend College is where I'll be heading in the fall season. So, big news. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the opportunity, but I wanted to share with you guys. I teased it with you guys yesterday, waiting for the opportunity to kind of make it public. I made it public last night, and I wanted to make sure I share with you guys too.
Congratulations, JG.
Congrats, JG.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll see you later this week, all right?
Absolutely. See you guys.
Mo, Shohei deserves that credit. He overcame a lot.
Think about what he's dealing with mentally.
Right, I know.
To lose his best friend. Never mind the money that was lost.
$17 million.
Right. And you just never know. You just never know who you can trust.
every corner he takes, could that guy be out? Could that guy be impersonating him and taking his money? Well, at this point, he has to ask, right? I mean, when it happens once for that many years.
You're just going to have to go ahead and do your due diligence and change your password.
Or just turn the notifications on your phone. That's all. Those notifications could save you 17 million large. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Really can.
Mo, we had NBA basketball last night. Obviously, if you are a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, not the way you wanted it to go. When you lose your best player, when you arguably lose the only offense your team really had, going against arguably the best team that is left in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. It's probably not going to go well, Mo, and it did not go well against the Celtics last night. Bigger deal, he doesn't even know if he's going to play game 4. Calf strains are not something to mess around with.
They're not.
So Mitchell could also be out for game 4, but I feel, Mo, at this point, it's probably a wrap, right? If he does play game 4, he's not going to be 100%. So you're not going to get a Herculean effort out of him if he does play game 4, because again, calf strains linger. They linger for weeks usually. So even if he goes in game 4, we're done at this point, I feel.
I'm with you. I think this series is over. And more importantly, why would you risk injury to your best player? Injury that can linger or go on into the next season. You wouldn't. You weren't supposed to win this series. I look at the Cavs roster. I want to give them credit. They actually made last night's game competitive.
Oh,
but
for sure.
But that wasn't about the Cavs. It being a competitive game is more about the Celtics. It really is. So yes, Boston did enough to win last night. They'll do enough to win tomorrow night. And then we move on to the conference finals. I just thought as soon as you knew Mitchell wasn't going to play, the ending was done. It was just a matter of how it was going to end, what was going to be the final score. And look, like I said, they put up a valiant effort, but the Celtics did enough to win. I think this series is over. I would not risk my best player, especially my best player who might not be returning next season. So I want to keep that relationship on a positive note. You're more important to me than one game, more or less. Let's keep it 100. So I just think the Cavaliers going forward, you need to add some pieces around Donovan Mitchell, and that's going to be your whole goal, right? To sell Donovan Mitchell on your plan with him going forward. Who can you add to Donovan Mitchell, which probably blends us into the guy that showed up for the game? Why was he there?
Yep. Isn't that weird? It's not weird. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. It's a little weird.
And he wasn't there from the beginning. He had to make a grand entrance.
Of course he did.
Know.
Of course he did.
Mind you, when you have that kind of money, that kind of celebrity, you could be up in any kind of private box and nobody would know one way or another. But you had to make sure everybody saw you walk down so you could sit right in front and they could go, is that? Oh, that is. Because that's what he does.
And, you got to wait a little bit because the traffic, and once the game gets started, it's not quite filled yet, Mo. You got to wait till wait till a little bit later when everything is filled up, and then it's at capacity, and then his people are like, it's go time. It's go King, go find your seat. Let's go. You're the last one in the building.
Right. Now, really, if you're LeBron and you really came there to watch the game, let's be honest. If you found out that Donovan Mitchell wasn't playing, you'd be like, nah, not tonight. I'm not right. I'm not. If I'm really here for the game, not tonight. I'm not doing that. He wasn't really there for the game.
On the other side of the aisle, the Thunder, after winning game 1 and losing back-to-back games, backs against the wall, Mo, they respond. They even up the series at 2-2. You said it yesterday. If they went down 3-1, they weren't going to win the series. They didn't go down 3-1. They now force that pivotal game. Well, they don't force it, but now we get to a pivotal game 5 where we are tied at 2, as opposed to going into a must-win situation in a game 5. Talk to me about what you saw from the Thunder last night. Is this a turning point where now they are going to get themselves back into the series as far as they're going to win the series? Or do you still think this is going to go 7 and it's going to be the Mavericks?
I still think it's going to go 7. So, and I'm going to stick with my pick. I picked the Mavs in 7. But if you look, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had been the most consistent star in this series of all the stars. But I thought last night was the game where he put his imprint on the series. Like late in the game, when you needed a bucket, and everybody in the building knew who they were going to go to, and you were like, is Jason Kidd gonna blitz him? Is he gonna hedge and double him real quick and make somebody else win? And Jason decided to go straight up and guard him straight up. And as soon as he did that, I was like, that's just not going to end well. And he made big shot after big shot. Not to mention he made clutch free throws. Late in that game, though, Luka has a chance to tie it up. He goes to the free throw line and he misses the free throws that could have. It's a tough blow. But that game, if you watch the entire game, that doesn't shock me when you look at how badly both Luka and Kyrie play. When your two best players go a combined 10 for 31, you're probably not going to win. Their bench, which has been a problem for them throughout this series, actually outscored a better, deeper OKC bench 21-12. They did their job. The starters did not do their job. Luka, I think a lot of this is credit to Lou Dort for the defense that he's played, but I also think Luka's not 100%. I don't want to give excuses because I'm the guy that says if you're on the court, if you're playing, don't cry to me about how your knee hurts or your shoulder. You're playing, you're competing. If you're really, really hurt, you shouldn't play. It's as simple as that. You shouldn't play. And Lou Dort has done a terrific job on Luka. I don't even think Luka's shooting 40% for the series. And I thought last night Kyrie had done an interview talking about, I think I'm one of the signature players in the NBA. And that's great to say. But in a signature moment, when your team could have took a 3-1 lead and a stranglehold over a series, Kyrie no-showed. He did nothing. And I think the momentum says OKC has control of the series. I still think it goes 7, but I'm not sure how it ends.
Let's pivot to some NFL stuff, Mo. And this wasn't even on my list, but I just saw it pop up in my feed. So we're going to start here. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers because we know they are going to open the season up Monday night at home, welcoming in the man himself, Aaron freaking Rodgers. What a test for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets week 1 of the NFL season. No, they don't get to pick on the Patriots or one of the weaker teams in the AFC. They are going to go straight to the home of a Super Bowl favorite with the San Francisco 49ers. Mo, I'm just going to turn it over to you. As a Niners fan, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers coming into your house? You're very familiar with him. Coming into your house. Hopefully he plays more than 4 snaps as a New York Jet week 1 of this season.
Let me be honest. If our front 4, or let me go bigger picture, our front 7, if they can't put any pressure on him, if they can't control the seams, Aaron Rodgers will pick the Niners apart because that secondary, it's in disarray. When you look at how we drafted, it spoke to what John Lynch knows. That secondary has struggled, especially when they were put in man coverage. I think that game will literally come down to, can San Francisco's offense score enough points to keep up with the Jets offense? I actually think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be not high scoring, but I think points will be scored on both sides. It wouldn't surprise me if the Jets won because I don't know what the secondary for the Niners is going to look like. We have to go through training camp. We've still got a couple of guys downed, but with the weapons that they added to the Jets, with the fact that they did address some issues, especially at left tackle for the Jets, I think that could be one of the better games. Like, we're excited to see Ravens Chiefs. I'm excited to see Jets Niners.
Mo, we made a lot about the Buffalo Bills shipping off Stephon Diggs, and we asked who is going to replace him. What is Josh Allen going to have weapons-wise heading into this season? And it looks like his weapons are complete. They just signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and that rounds out their starters, where it looks like it's now going to be the receiver they drafted, Keon Coleman. They signed Curtis Samuel. They signed MVS. That goes with Dalton Kincaid, who's at the tight end, James Cook in the backfield. And that looks to be the weapons that you're looking at if you are the Buffalo Bills. Now, Mo, people are going to say I'm a little biased as a Dolphin fan, but I'll be honest. I look at that. I'm not very impressed. I'm not saying, oh. I know that Keon Coleman he has some great attributes coming out of college, but I look at what he's not. And what he's not is a great route runner. And what he's not is somebody who is able to get separation in the secondary. I know he can do some other things really well. He has a certain body type. He is an alpha male. I think he is going to be a good fit in Buffalo personality-wise. But I look at what they're losing in Diggs, who is a good route runner, and at the same time is also explosive. So they're replacing some of what they lost in Diggs, but not all of it. But I still think they had to move on from Diggs. But then I look at what else they brought in. I don't think MVS jumps off the screen. I don't think Curtis Samuel jumps off the screen. So, Mo, I'm looking at this Buffalo offense, and between Coleman and Kincaid, I mean, I like Kincaid. I know others do as well, but I like Kincaid. He is a good football player. But if I'm projecting what the Buffalo Bills ball distribution is going to look like this season, I feel like one of two things needs to happen. Coleman needs to have a monster rookie season, or Kincaid needs to have Travis Kelce-like success as far as volume and production. Because if one of those two things doesn't happen, MVS isn't leading you to the promised land. Curtis Samuel isn't leading you to the promised land. So, and I think Dalton Kincaid, I like him. I like him. I don't know if he's going to be Kelce, but I think the man has a skill set that could easily make him a top 5 tight end in this league if utilized properly. But I feel like if you're a Buffalo fan, you need to either get one of the two or half and half. And if you don't, I don't know what the Buffalo offense is going to look like.
So the way I look at it and what they've done this offseason, I think Buffalo's going to be more of a run-first offense. That's what I believe. I believe that's going to be their philosophy. I think that Cook is probably going to be, provided he stays healthy, he's going to be a 1,300-yard back. He also can catch out of the backfield, but I think that's where they're going to be. If they are a run-first offense in a weird way, while Josh might not put up the crazy numbers that he has in the past, he might be a better, more efficient version of himself, right? Relying on the advantages that you have in the seams when they respect the run with your tight end, dumping it off to your running backs. Because they have receiver by committee. And look, there's one thing that Valdez-Scantling does really well. It's the one thing he does really well. He runs one route very well. He runs the 9 route. Well, they can sometimes you send that guy on a 9 route really just to clear out stuff for other people. Well, I think he's going to be getting a lot of cardio this coming season. So he's going to get, I don't know if he's going to catch a lot of passes, but he's going to run down the field a lot of times and draw the safety's attention. So I do think their offense can still be effective, maybe not as explosive, because I think they're going to be more of a run-first team.
Mo, if that is the plan in Buffalo, they better have a very strong-willed offensive coordinator, because we've seen Buffalo try to be a run-first team. We've seen Buffalo try to be a balanced team. And every time they try to do it, Mo, what happens? There comes a point where Josh Allen's got to put the cape on. Josh Allen's got to Josh Allen. Josh Allen's got to use his legs because he likes to get hit to get himself going. You've heard all the ridiculous nonsense coming out of Buffalo. Well, if you're a run-first football team, that means that Josh Allen's going to put the cape on less. That means you can still utilize Josh Allen's legs, absolutely. Sure. That can be a big part of you being a run-first football team. But if you're doing a lot of running, you're not doing a lot of passing, which means that if you're Josh Allen, when you are passing, it's even more important that you're being efficient with your passes. So those 3 or 4 balls that Josh Allen throws every single game, where you're just like, oh my God, why did he throw that? And sometimes it's a pick and sometimes it's not a pick. Well, those become even bigger if he's throwing 7 or 8 times less a game. Because now those mistakes become even more crucial, and more magnified.
Agreed.
So I agree with you. Buffalo should be a run-first team. Josh Allen can put the cape on if he needs to in must-win situations, comeback situations, fourth quarter late drives. That's fine. Let Josh Allen. But what I'm saying is, his offensive coordinator needs to make sure that you are reining him in, that when he is doing, the 20 passes or 22 passes a game, that he's still not having those 3 or 4, what are we doing, Josh Allen moments? Because when he throws 45 times a game and he has 3 or 4 of those, there's enough in there to overcome it. But if you're only throwing 22 times, Mo, you can't have 4 WTF balls.
Right. And it's a difficult balance. I would say that if you looked at Brett Favre at the peak of his career, that was the fight, right? You wanted Brett to be able to get, because of the arm talent, to be able to be Brett Favre, but you needed to rein him in because too many times Brett just wanted to sling the football. And when he just slung the football, bad things happened. They just did. I don't know. You bring up a great question. Can the offensive coordinator be strong-willed enough to go, Josh, I know what you're thinking, but let's stay patient. Let's stay with the run. Look, there will be games that they play that the scores are going to be 17-10. But if you get that win in a 17-10 game, you get that win. That's what matters. And it does take a certain discipline by the offensive coordinator as well as the quarterback. So I hope they're on the same page because, like you said, sometimes Josh likes to write his own page and likes to do things on the fly. But I understand that there will be times where they'll go up against stout defense that will shut the run down. But if you're shutting the run down, then it may open up the pass, but you still have to be honest with the run. Sometimes you run the ball 25 times and you might only get 60 yards. It still is to keep the defense honest, right? So I'm with you. Can they stay disciplined with the run first attack?
And Mo, I think the biggest thing that's going to help the Buffalo Bills this season is there isn't going to be somebody on the sidelines yelling, throw me the ball, I'm open, where's my ball, I need 13 balls today, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, because the rookie isn't going to do that. No. MVS isn't going to do that. Curtis Samuel isn't going to do that. Dalton Kincaid isn't going to do that. So when there's less pressure to feed the ball to the number one, maybe by default, that helps Josh Allen a little bit.
Agreed.
Maybe Josh Allen just takes what's there and doesn't force the ball or do anything that he would maybe not do if he didn't know that he was going to go back to the sidelines and get an earful from number one about why he didn't get the football. Not saying that happened, but Mo, I think we can both agree that probably happened. It probably happened. So I think that could by default, that's addition by subtraction, is it not?
Oh no, I'm with you 100%. Guess what? Out in Houston with the Texans, they're going to learn what that feels like. They are. Look, and I think Stroud is one of the young up and coming talents, but he's going to deal with something that he hasn't dealt with. I mean, this is year 2, and he's going to have some guy running over there like, can you not see when they drop down that safety that I had one-on-one coverage? Did you not see me? Like, dude, it was a draw play. Calm the hell down.
That's what audibles are for, kid.
Right. That's why the safety didn't pay attention to you. It was a draw play. Come on.
We would be remiss, Mo, if we didn't talk about this. It was the biggest NFL news yesterday. Jared Goff got 3 bags. He got 6 bags. He got the local bank. He got a couple of Brinks trucks backed up in front of his house. He signed a 4-year, $212 million extension. Mo, I will be honest, if you told me 3 years ago that at some point Jared Goff was going to sign a $200+ million extension in the NFL, I would have said you are out of your mind. He's a decent quarterback, but he ain't that kind of money quarterback. Well, here he is, Mo. Here he is with a team that not only is he comfortable with, that he likes playing for, they like him. And they like what he does. And they build around his skill sets. And I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome for him. I think it's awesome for Detroit. You know who it's not awesome, though, for, Mo? The Dallas Cowboys. Because you got a guy who needs a new contract, who was already looking at a big, ridiculous number. And then Jared Goff goes out and signs a big, ridiculous number. And if you're Dak Prescott, you're sitting here like, look what Jared Goff got. Okay. gonna keep that in my back pocket. We'll be discussing that when it comes time for me to talk my numbers
For sure.
because I'm better than that guy.
Now,
I'm not saying he is. I'm not gonna have that conversation. I would say it's definitely a conversation worth having, but I think it's fair for Dak to feel that way, Mo.
It is fair for him to feel that way, and I'm with you. I'm happy for Jared Goff, really good football player, but the way we both say it, really good football player, really good guy. Yeah, so that kind of ties into the Prescott thing. I think Dak Prescott is at least as good as Jared Goff, if not better than him. I'm just being real with it. So I know if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm like, we're definitely going to revisit that conversation about what money I'm supposed to make. Because look, if the Cowboys are dumb enough, and they may be, to let him walk, who are you replacing him with?
That's the question. Oh, they got Trey Lance.
Yeah, they got Trey Lance.
Go ask John Lynch about him.
Yeah. Ask John Lynch, the Wizard. Was it 4 or 5 number ones? That guy.
At this point, who knows? It might as well have been 7.
Oh, the only reason John Lynch is employed because Brock Purdy fell out of nowhere. That's the only reason he's still employed. Look, I think that the Joneses would be really smart to either make a definitive decision on Dak now, than try to play this out and think you have the upper hand. Because I look, if he has another terrific season, even if they come up, let's say they get knocked out early in the playoffs, but he has a terrific season. What we're talking about is the terrific season that he had, and you're not going to give him what Jared Goff made. Sure, you are, but if he walks or he's in a position where he can like listen to different offers, I think he's out. And they will have nobody to blame but themselves. If I'm Dak Prescott and you're holding me lame duck style and on that we'll wait and see thing, I'm ready to be out. Because there's no shortage of need at the quarterback position. He can start for numerous teams in the NFL.
I mean, the first team that I think of, I think of the New York Jets. The Jets are a team that this could be Aaron Rodgers' last season. He could be on his way out depending on how this season goes. And would they not love to plug in a Dak Prescott for 2 or 3 seasons while they figure out what their next plan of attack is going to be at the quarterback position?
That's true.
If this is Aaron Rodgers' last year with the New York Jets, I mean, and they'll pay him. They will pay Dak Prescott to come there for 2 or 3 seasons because let's say the Jets have a good season. Let's say they make the playoffs, right? Regardless of what they do in the playoffs, let's say they make the playoffs. Well, then Aaron decides to retire. You don't think the Jets are going to look at this and be like, we have a playoff team. We just got to get a quarterback in there that can guide us to the playoffs. Dak can do that. And we'll just keep building the defense. And we know that Dak is his best when he has a good running back. Hey, we got a couple of those. We know Dak is his best when he has a good defense. Hey, we got one of those. Like, would that not be a tailor-made situation for Dak Prescott to have some success with a different team outside of Dallas?
Oh, facts. Look, and don't forget, with the additional weapons they've added, they're loaded across the board offensively. Aaron Rodgers retires, you can plug in Dak Prescott, and I don't think you lose a beat. I'm not saying he's on Aaron Rodgers' level, or maybe he is on 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
It could be.
But what I do know is if you have him along with the talent you have on both sides of the ball, there's no drop off. You're immediately still a Super Bowl contender with Dak running the show. I think that's a great move. I never even thought of that. The Jets, because even if everything worked out to perfection and they won the Super Bowl, I think Aaron Rodgers still walks away.
Oh, 100. I 100% think he retires if you win a Super Bowl.
Right? Because you can't top that. You can't top that. And the odds of you repeating in the NFL is so hard, especially a 40-year-old quarterback repeating. No, in New York, if he wins that Super Bowl, he walks away a football god. There's no way he's coming back.
Yeah, his ego, that is the ultimate way for him to go out. So if they win a Super Bowl, he's definitely gone. I think if they struggle, he's gone. I think if it's just, even if it's a playoff season and he just is beat up a little bit,
he's gone.
I think he's gone. Like I see more outcomes where he leaves than he comes back. I mean, the only real situation I see he comes back is if they make the playoffs, they have a deep playoff run, like I'm talking AFC Championship game, and it's a great game, and they just fall short. That situation, I can see him being like, we were right there. I got to come back for one more. But if it's not that, Mo, if it's the first round of the playoffs and it was a great playoff game and they just fell short, I don't see him coming back.
No, but you brought up his ego. I think the only way his ego even gets challenged is if they're in the AFC Championship game. It is a great football game, and he loses by a field goal to Mahomes. He's coming back. He's coming back. That won't sit well with him. He's absolutely coming back.
Mo, great show on a Tuesday. Close us out, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your support. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at the Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire, we are growing. We appreciate you.
Make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow. We got Will on the show. He is going to talk NBA with us. We also have the NFL genius himself, Gene from Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. He is going to be on here to break down all of the happenings in the football world. It is schedule day tomorrow, and we're going to get more schedule leaks throughout today, and then obviously the schedule is dropping tomorrow. So we got a lot of things to discuss. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire.